Because Feuerberger takes a conservative approach, he eliminates Mattia altogether, since he is not a known member of Jesus' immediate family. Feuerberger also divides the probability outcome by 4, so as to compensate for any unintended biases in the historical data. And he further divides the number by 1,000, representing all first-century Jerusalem tombs. By the end, his model concludes that there is only one chance in 600 that the Talpiot tomb is not the Jesus family tomb, if Mariamne can be linked to Mary Magdalene. But can she? One of the most famous tales associated with Mary Magdalene is in the Gospel of John, where Jesus stops the stoning of a woman punished for adultery. But there is no indication in the text that the unnamed woman is Magdalene. It's a later Christian tradition that has linked the adulteress to Magdalene, just as it has linked her to the tale in Luke of another unnamed woman specifically labeled a sinner who anoints the feet of Jesus. Drying them with her hair. Today, scholars believe that Mary Magdalene and the 2 unnamed women in Luke and John are all different women. The tradition of linking Mary Magdalene to these so-called sinners can be traced back to a turnaround in the church of later centuries, when women were excluded from being consecrated as religious leaders. Previous to that time, women were ordained. And in many early Christian writings, Mary Magdalene is highly respected as a missionary.
I think that Mary Magdalene was an extremely important person in the Jesus movement. So important that I think, this is my opinion, I know I'm not representing anybody else in this, but I think that she actually is the real founder of Christianity.
The strong leadership displayed by Magdalene would have been regarded as suspect by an evolving, male-dominated church. So from the 2nd century, when church fathers began suppressing dozens of early Christian writings, the church rejected 2 texts that held Mary Magdalene in highest regard: the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and a text describing her brother's ministry, the Acts of Philip. For centuries, only fragments of these texts remained, and some sections had been considered lost forever. But in 1974, in an ancient monastery on Mount Athos in Greece, a Harvard University professor, François Bovon, uncovered a 700-year-old manuscript. It was the most complete copy ever found of the 4th century text, the Acts of Philip. In it, Beaumont claims to have discovered an early description of Mary Magdalene, unmarked by later Christian tradition.
In the Acts of Philip, she is completely, there is no mention of her previous life. She is seen positively as a Christian missionary. So she is completely at the same level as male missionaries. She preaches, she teaches, she baptizes, she carries even the title apostle.
If in the early Christian movement Mary Magdalene was an apostle, then the unique alias Mara on Mariamne's ossuary could be pointing to something extraordinary. In Aramaic, Mara means master.
Mara, the master. Even today, if you go to the Armenian quarter, the archbishop or one of the priests would be like Mar Samuel or Mar whatever, Lord, Master. You can still hear it. So it's a sign of respect for a rabbi, for a teacher, related to the Mara, the Lord, the Master.
It is clear in the Acts of Philip that Mary Magdalene is respected as a preacher, baptizer, and apostle, strong and faithful. and close to Jesus. It would make sense then for her followers to refer to her as Mara, Master. But what about the spelling of the first name in the inscription, the unique Mariamne, never found before or since on any other ossuary? In the Acts of Philip, Mary Magdalene's name is spelled M-A-R-I-A-M-N-E. Mariamne.
Mariamne is the same woman as Mary of Magdala or Mary Magdalene in the Synoptic Gospels and in some non-canonical texts like the Gospel of Mary, Pistis Sophia, etc.
The Acts of Philip seem to explain all the mysteries behind this inscription. But if this is really the ossuary belonging to Mary Magdalene, then there's one more thing that needs to be investigated. The common held belief, based on medieval tradition, is that after the death of Jesus, the disciples were expelled from Judea and scattered to many lands, traveling and spreading the word of God. After some time, Mary Magdalene ended up in France, where she spent the last of her days. Following this later Christian tradition, it would be impossible to discover Mary Magdalene's coffin in Tebpia, Jerusalem. However, in the Acts of Philip, written in the 4th century, the oldest known account of Mary Magdalene's travels, she does not die in France.
According to the Acts of Philip, at the end of the story, Mariamne is said supposed to go home to Israel, to the Jordan Valley, and the author has an allusion that where she would die and be buried.
The Acts of Philip clearly tell us that Mary Magdalene, Jesus' most trusted apostle, dies here in Jerusalem. Would it really be that implausible to find her buried beside Jesus in the tomb of the Jesus family? The statistical probabilities are compelling. The cluster of names in the Tebpia tomb, extraordinary. The connections to the Gospels, too strong to dismiss. Armed with this new knowledge, our team may now be able to uncover new clues inside the Tebpia tomb, if we can just get inside.
Let's hook up our stuff and see what he did.
Okay, so let's see what we got now that we've got the plumber cleared it all out for us.
This is it. I still dread the idea that maybe the blockage was the bottom of it.
Here's about 14 feet. Here's the blockage. We're at the point now where
and it's not the bottom, which is good.
No, we're still going.
No, it's not the bottom. That's good. This is deep. This is really deep.
It's 20 feet.
You're already 20 feet down?
You know, we're
that's great.
down.
Look.
Oh.
What is that? Can you see the bottom, Phil?
Either we hit another blockage or we're at the bottom. I'll move the camera.
What happened to? I thought it's supposed to curve.
Well, let's switch the camera.
Let me pan around, see if we can find something.
Can you? We don't see anything.
I'm panning left.
I saw it. Yeah. There it is.
There's an opening.
There's an opening. Absolutely.
We're in the tomb. We got the tomb. We got the tomb. We're right in front of the facade. Wait a minute.
Oh my goodness! It's going.
Is that an ossuary?
Wait. That's ossuaries. Those are ossuaries. Yes. Oh my goodness. There's good news and there's bad news here. There's an ossuary there.
What does that mean?
It's the wrong tomb.
wrong tomb, man.
Our tomb is empty.
So, what are we gonna do?
You know what?
What?
This may be the second tomb.
You're right.
This may be
The one we thought was 20 meters north. We're in the second tomb.
Right.
Our tomb is 20 meters south of here. The good news is no one's ever seen a tomb from the time of Jesus in pristine condition.